got some new faces this week, Mercury, and a lot of fun. So, hi everyone.
G'day.
Hello.
Hi, it's me, George Lucas.
G'day.
George Lucas is not a new face and not a face that we need, but yeah.
Yes, I am. I'm gonna go write another Star Wars movie.
You lost that, old man.
Right,
No, I
so
sold it.
this week we have Rabbit, Pecan, Rook, and welcome to Ozzy, who I'm sure you all know, but yeah, it's double admin time, so.
And double Aussie.
And double Aussie, yeah. Well, I mean, this
Double
is the
retard
Australian
Aussie.
time.
You what?
A land that's not made sense in 28 years.
We are from the land down under, mate, and we will not take your shit.
Well, without further ado, we will move on, since I'm sure everyone knows who we are by now. So,
Yay.
what did we do last week? So, not really much happened in the team last week, as far as I know. If I'm incorrect, one of you can fill me in, I'm sure. I mean, yeah, Minecraft happened and exploded and died.
He's working slowly.
Maybe Fortnite's not here because he's too busy playing Minecraft.
Yeah, if you haven't already joined the
See,
Minecraft
I'm never
server on the server and you want to play with a load of people that enjoy burning down each other's things and fighting and starting crusades, then
Let's go across.
I think
I
it's
don't go on for
Crusade.
2 days and there's a crusade.
The Crusade is the one who burnt down everyone's house and called everyone a witch.
Crusades. Well, if there's Crusades, let's play Civ 6.
Well, yeah, that's just evidence that if you are looking for a gaming community and you're watching the podcast and you haven't already got people to play with, there's always people online, so come join us. So other than that, this week in actual team news, we have done some more animation. Rabbit, I'm sure you can say that there has been more animation.
Yep. I did part of the episode 1 storyboard, and then the boss man finished it, so...
Oh, yeah,
With expert
Com's
art.
beautiful drawings.
Com's drawings are improving, but bless him, he tries.
Yeah, because I had to do the update video, and then I'm going to be doing the update video again this week. Yay!
I just want to take a moment to say rest in peace, Com, who had to do an extra shift today, hence why he's not here. So we miss you, and I will try and do my best to keep everyone together. In other team news, I wasn't at the meeting yesterday, but I believe that the voice actors finally have something to do this week, which is quite cool.
Yes.
Yes, they
Yeah,
do.
We
Yeah, storyboard's finished.
we actually have work, and no one was at the first team meeting. But
Nobody.
out of all, there was like 5 team members and Ozzy. He's not even a team member, and he came.
Well,
I'm doing my part.
just to clarify for anyone listening, we are still working on the PV. The PV is being animated, but in order to keep things rolling over, we're doing the storyboards for episode 1 at least. So yeah, you can get content quicker because we're multitasking and because our artists are not animators. Anyway,
And Com's learning how
The
to
last-
Well,
keep
some of us are.
the last thing I have to mention is if you haven't already checked out the Meet the Team cards, then now is a good time to do so because
Don't read mine.
it means you can learn loads of facts about us that you might learn if you listen to all the podcasts, but I mean, who has time for that? So just go stalk your friends. That's my advice.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So that's all in team news, I believe. Has anybody who's on the podcast done something cool this week they want to talk about?
Minecraft.
Minecraft. Good. Good use of time. I have a new laptop
So,
that we are now streaming on, so hopefully a lot less technical hitches than last week. I do apologise for that. Anyway, we will move on quickly to the science news for this week, because there's quite a bit of it. So, this morning, like probably, I think it's 3 hours ago now, the Harker solar probe that I talked about last week, which is in fact a NASA probe, was launched. It was due to launch yesterday, Saturday morning, but there was actually an alarm that went off about 30 minutes before launch, and so obviously they shut it down. Not quite sure what the alarm was about. I don't think they really did either. Kind of a false alarm thing, but launched with no hitches in the backup window this morning. So yeah, we have a probe on its way to the sun.
Nice.
In other NASA news, actually everything this week is
sun.
NASA news. NASA has been busy. So I don't know if any of you saw the film a couple of years ago called Hidden Figures, which was about the group of African American women who did all the data and all the number crunching for the original Apollo program, but got no recognition at the time because they were African American women. And obviously this film Hidden Figures brought quite a lot of light to them, but kind of in retrospect of that, a bunch of congressmen this week have voted to give these 4 women, 2 of them who have passed away but 2 still alive, the highest civilian award for any US citizen, which is the Congressional Gold Medal. So that is Katherine Johnson,
Awesome.
Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson and Kristen Darden. So they will all be very highly honoured, which is a very good recognition for their work, even though it's a shame that they didn't get it so many years ago. So that's a nice little piece of news, wholesome news. And then some interesting news is, despite all the jokes that we make about NASA not having any funding, this week NASA announced more than 20 private contracts valued at more than $55 million intended to develop commercial technologies for space exploration. So
Add
basically,
to the budget.
they have, there goes the budget for the year. They have 20 contracts so that they were sending out to commercial space businesses, where the total amount of money that they've given is 55 million to do some more deep space exploration, and also looking at doing this kind of space holiday thing, which is kind of cool because I want to go into space. But yeah, so a lot of NASA news this week. But swiftly moving on, this week, as promised, we will be talking about Mercury, which has been long awaited, I'm sure. So, Fortnite, who bailed on us at the last minute, I'm naming and shaming you here, Fortnite, was
He's unreliable.
Public
Don't trust
shame.
him.
name and
Well, yeah,
shame.
last I
name
heard
and
he was
shame.
supposed to Paris.
Was meant to be looking up a lot of the doing the research for the basic characteristics this week, so I have very briefly done them just straight away. So Mercury, smallest
Is a trap.
planet other than Pluto, but Pluto's not a planet.
Carries.
Hell yeah.
Closest planet to the Sun. It has the shortest orbital period because it's the closest to the Sun. And in fact, its orbital period is half of that of one of its days, which I think is quite funny.
Actually, it's 3 halves of one of its days.
Is it 3 halves? Am I that bad at reading statistics?
Hold up.
It's a 2 to 3 spin orbit resonance.
It says, I'm literally reading the Wikipedia page, and it contradicts its own fact in the fact box to the side. But yeah, it does say that. It's tidally locked though, so that's pretty cool.
Semi-tidally locked.
Thank you for fact checking me, Fortnite. Not Fortnite. Rabbit. Oh my gosh. I am tired. Apologies.
All those English.
It's
All those
got
paintings being
roughly the same surface gravity as the moon. So the moon has 3.2 meters per second squared of gravity acceleration, I believe, and Mercury has 3.7. It is quite similar to the moon in that it's a small rocky surface, and it's not really the most interesting planet. The most interesting thing about Mercury is the crazy temperature differences between day and night. So it can be about 100 Kelvin during the night, which is minus 173 degrees Celsius and minus 285 degrees Fahrenheit for all you Americans listening. And then in the day it goes up to 700 Kelvin. So that's 427 degrees Celsius and 800 degrees Fahrenheit. So absolutely insane temperature ranges just due to the fact that it doesn't really have an atmosphere and it's so close to the sun. But yeah.
But it's still cooler than Venus.
And still
Yeah.
a trap.
It's still cooler than Venus, but Venus doesn't have that kind of fluctuation because it does have such a greenhouse atmosphere. And just to answer that, Mercury's not a trap. Please let's not do this. We'll get to that in the character section.
I'm filling
Anyway.
in for Kata, sorry.
Yeah, but poor Kata couldn't be here on the podcast. He really just wanted to be. Okay, so
Mercury can't be a trap. The gravity well isn't large enough.
Mercury is.
Catter came in, of course.
Did he actually?
He did.
Yes. Yeah, he came in and said that Mercury is a trap in your voice.
Well played,
We
Catter,
got it.
well played.
Banned
See what I
forever.
work with. Rabbit, let's let you take the floor with the mythology and stuff.
Mercury's a trap.
Alright, so the first records of the observation of the planet Mercury are about 3,400 years old. So, pretty cool. It's about 1,400 before the Common Era. Basically, as long as it's been known, it's been named for the messenger of the gods in basically mythologies that originated in the Near East and the Middle East. So originally it was known as Nabu by the Babylonians. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but and of course Hermes by the Greeks and Mercury by the Romans. In Germanic mythology, it was associated with the god Odin, the king of all the gods, and ruled over the day of the week, Wednesday, which is why Mercury is associated with Wednesday. It's Wednesday is Odin's day, Woden's day, yeah. In the Far East, it's associated with water, ironically. And so that's why Wednesday is basically water day in Chinese, Japanese, stuff like that. And Mercury is the water star. Interestingly enough, there was an occultation of Mercury by Venus in 1737, which, interestingly enough, we had the chance to observe because we actually had the technology back then. And it's so rare. The next one's not until 2133. So hopefully, some of us are alive to see that.
I mean, maybe. Depends how well we do with medicine and stuff. That would be cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that.
Thank you. Very interesting. I think the mythology of these, we kind of skip over in the show sometimes, or with what we've been planning, we do a lot more science, but it's definitely cool to have mythology explained, because I think it's really interesting. But,
and that's part of why Mercury is a speedster in the show, because
Speedy boy.
Yeah. Because it's the fastest planet, so...
Because it's the fastest planet, but also because he is the messenger of the gods, we kind of have him down as, he's Sensei's errand boy. If he needs to take something to the office or something, we'll be like, Mercury, get up, go do this thing.
Just the Flash phases through the wall.
He runs like they do on, what was that anime last year, Devilman? With the,
Oh, go on. How he's super bent over.
Yes.
Yeah, we will get on to later how we really struggled to make him not look like Sonic.
And Johnny
Nailed it.
Test. And Johnny Test.
And Johnny Test, yeah.
And a trap.
He just ended up being kind of a combination of Sonic and Johnny Test. So, I mean, good times.
I mean, who doesn't want to look like Johnny Test? Let's be serious.
Sonic.
Fair enough.
That's no good.
What about both?
What about me?
No.
No.
Use force speed, it'll be great.
What about Disney?
I'm going to
What
cut that
about
off
the Disney
there.
attack on my franchise?
Rook, I believe you did some
Yes.
research about the missions this week.
Yes, I did. Okay. So, the first one I'm going to talk about is Marina 10, which was launched in 1973. Marin, sorry, I'm very bad at reading.
Mariner.
Marin 10.
Mariner.
Is that how you say?
Yeah, Mariner.
Wait, Mariner. That's what. Didn't I say that?
You said Marina,
Oh, sorry.
which makes it sound like a submarine.
I mean, or a trap.
Well, it is going to the water star.
Yeah, it's just the Neptune leaking into you, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't fucking read, so sorry.
It's fine.
Anyway, so it was the 7th successful launch in the Mariner series. Is that how you say it?
Mariner, yep.
Yeah, and was the first spacecraft to actually visit Mercury. It was also the first spacecraft to use a gravitational pull of one planet to reach another. So it used Venus's gravitational pull to reach Mercury. And it was the first spacecraft to visit 2 separate planets. The spacecraft flew by Mercury 3 times in a retrograde heliocentric orbital orbit. Yeah, that's how you say it. And
Yes.
and it returned images and data on the planets. So the spacecraft returned the first ever close-up images of Venus and Mercury, and the primary scientific objectives of the mission were to measure Mercury's environment, atmosphere, surface, and body characteristics, and to make similar investigations on Venus. The secondary objectives were to perform experiments in a interplanetary medium and to obtain experience with a dual planet gravity assist mission.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that one, and the next one is Messenger, which we were talking about before, and now I know why it has the name Messenger. So, the Mercury surface space environment's geochemistry and range, or Messenger, mission is designed to study the characteristics and environment of Mercury from orbit. Specifically, the scientific objectives of the mission are to characterize the chemical combination of Mercury's surface and the geological history and nature of the magnetic fields, the size and state of the core, the volatility, I think that's how you say it, inventory at the poles, and the nature of Mercury's exosphere and the magnetosphere over a nominal orbital mission of 1 Earth year. And the Messenger was launched on the 3rd of August 2004.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, that's not too long from now. So if I can just go back and explain a little bit of the science behind why Mariner 10 was such a famous probe in the end. As Rose was... not Rose. Gosh darn it. As Rick was saying... just call someone by my own name, why don't you?
Nice.
Makes sense.
As Rick was saying, Mariner 10 was the first probe that Earth sent that went to 2 different destinations. So it went round Venus and to Mercury. But one of the reasons why it did this, not just to kind of double up, so like, oh, we can go to Venus and Mercury, was to use what he was referring to like gravitational assist. And you've probably heard of it like slingshotting. So all the ones that we sent to Uranus and Neptune were slingshot round Venus. So effectively they go into a semi-orbit and use the gravitational pull of that planet to pick up speed, and then use a slight adjustment to push themselves out of orbit with that new gain speed. So saving a lot on energy and fuel and stuff. The Rosetta probe, the one that was landed on a asteroid, went round the entire solar system 9 times to get the velocity to go out to the asteroids in the Kepler belt.
Kuiper.
Kuiper.
Yeah, Kuiper.
Oh, I don't say
Sorry.
Kepler. I am very tired this
Different
morning. Yeah, I do
astronomer.
apologies. But yeah, if you actually look up the orbital kind of path of the Rosetta probe, it's quite interesting because it's just loops, and then they like go round, like they went round Earth and then they went round Venus and then back round Earth and then Earth to Jupiter and then back and then went round Mars and then round and round and round and then finally out again. It's very interesting, very like mathematical side of the because they like plot it out on computer programs and stuff, and I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, thank you for that, Rook.
Yep.
So I will now talk about our character of Mercury. So
Ooh.
I'm sure
Oh boy.
most of you have heard a lot about Mercury, if not only that every single time he's brought up, you have one side of the team going, Mercury is a trap, and you have another
And then
side
you have
of
the
the
wrong
team
side.
going,
Uh-oh.
no,
This is being
no,
recorded.
he's not a trap. He's
Oh, no.
seriously not a trap. I
You
swear.
see, not only is the team divided, but so are the admins. It's truly a debacle.
This is
Yeah,
truly
usually we're a team,
debate
but
of the
like,
century.
yeah. So, from an official standpoint, no. In the anime, Mercury
Yes.
is not a trap.
In our hearts, yes.
Maybe in our hearts, but not in reality.
First it was Neptune's ponytail, and now it's Mercury's trap.
Mercury, the week that we designed Mercury, I'm going to
It's
pull some concept art
Mercury's
onto the
other
screen.
tail.
Don't forget the meme I sent you, Flower, about the week we designed Mercury.
Oh, yes, I will pull those up. But the week that we designed Mercury was the week after we designed Neptune, and so the same thing applied about the fact that none of the artists were really that enthusiastic about drawing any of the male characters. Just one of those things, just how it goes. But we did get some art in the end, and basically the way to combat this was after, like with Neptune, and we were like, oh, just give him a ponytail. That will sort it all out. That's fine.
And I was fine with the ponytail for Mercury.
But
Yeah, I
then
think it's a great
instead
idea.
of the ponytail for Mercury, the idea was, well, if we don't want to draw men, let's just make him a trap. And like, no, that's not
And
a
not
good
just
idea.
the men, but the women and the children too.
Not just the main character.
So that's
the
how the
main
trap
character.
thing came about. Anyway, there's some concept art on screen. So we've got Morgan's in the background with the kind of, it looks a little
Holy
bit
shit.
like Link from Legends of Zelda. And then you can see where you were trying to create, like, this is the other ones from 51. And that is sort of a fiery kind of aspect. And then Kata was given the final design for it. And originally he made it look exactly like Sonic. Then it looked exactly like Johnny Test. And then we appeared at the one we have now. So I am just going to post the memes as I was told to. So here's one about Mercury being a trap. Or not. Or yes. Or no. I think we should have an official poll on that one day. Like, after the PV comes out.
Oh
have,
no.
Have a poll of, like, community-based. Do you think Mercury's a trap?
Yes.
And here is a meme of Pecan's thumb himself. I'm fitting it to the screen, I promise. This Mercury art is looking great, team. As you can see,
It's too zoomed in.
our
There we go.
yeah, the folder was quite empty to start with, but you know, that's all Mercury is. So if we look back, so this is the final design. Not quite like Sonic, not quite like Johnny Test. We ended up with like a kind of side flick. We kind of wanted him to look like Sonic because, you know, he's kind of speed boy. That's his main characteristic. I will talk through those now. So, the main things about Mercury. He is friends with Neptune. They're like good friends, sports boys, and just kind of good boys in general. He's a very good runner, so he's like on the running team, both short distance and long distance. He panics quite easily. I can't remember where the inspiration for that came from. I think, was it Liji?
Had to be Luigi, because that was the main line for Mercury. It was a panicky line.
Oh yeah. Well, I think he's kind of the cross between like the straight man character and the overly sensible character, because we have quite a lot of eccentric characters. So he's the one that's like, seriously,
Token
guys,
straight man.
are we seriously doing this? Are we really gonna do this?
That's what I was thinking when you said it.
Oh, what did I say wrong?
The straight man.
The straight man.
Can't be a straight man if he's trapped.
And I'm like,
Oof.
the token straight white male.
Don't worry, we'll get into the traps.
He's
With the
kind
character
of
description,
tanned.
you'll see.
So, yeah, he's more of a tag along. He kind of tags around along Neptune. He's not the most eccentric or outspoken of characters, as I'm sure Pecan will explain in his little interview thing. But he is very, very, very competitive. So if it comes to sports, if it comes to inter-form competitions, inter-school competitions, he will be out there leading the team because he wants to win. So I like that about him, that he's kind of serious most of the time and then deadly serious when it comes to competitions. So if
And just deadly when you.
just deadly if you land on him, yeah. Mercury is probably the most normal out of everyone in the cast, except for perhaps Sunsei. He is a good friend to Neptune and hangs out with him a lot outside of school. However, unlike Neptune, who is a great swimmer, Mercury is a fast runner. Mercury has a slightly awkward follower personality, but he is a cheery guy who often ends up playing the straight man, and Com's little brackets to me say, think Shinpachi from Gintama. I've never watched that, but if you have, then
Gintama.
Shinpachi. Oh gosh, I'm butchering this.
Oof.
One flaw that Mercury has is that he tends to panic and get flustered easily when confronted with a situation he isn't used to, i.e. awkward social situations, or being teased by boys, or being talked to by girls.
You're a trap.
In
Yeah,
class,
A1
he gets
person.
average grades, but he's on good terms with Sensei because Sunsei because they.
Sensei.
Ugh, my tongue is like
Oof.
dying this morning. Because he is on good terms with Sunsei because they live nearby to each other. Because of this, Mercury has always sat near the front of the class. An unfortunate side effect of this is that he tends to be in the first line of fire whenever Sunsei has an outburst, which may lead to him having a lot of singed clothing. So I don't know if you can see on the final design. Oh, we didn't put it on the final design in the end. We did have a design where, oh no, his tie is singed. Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
that.
his ties.
So we just jumping characters for a second to Sunsei. One of our kind of headcanon things for her is that I'm sure you've all seen her kind of star hair. If you haven't, go into links and resources, find her character sheet is on there. I've put all of those on there. When she kind of gets angry, it blows up a little bit more, a bit like a solar flare, so her hair will go wild and she'll burn everyone in the front row.
Sunsei is super hot.
If Fortnite were here, he'd be able to tell you all that.
Yeah. No, Fortnite did this really good original Sunsei art. Be sure to ask him about it on the server. Ping him and ask him about his original Sunsei art.
And ask him how it was completely not stolen by any Australians whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I stole it from him.
And then we move on to the little compromise that we came to about Mercury being a trap. Mercury likes trap music, but most people mistake that for him liking traps, and therefore some even speculating
trap.
that Mercury himself is a trap, which he's not in reality.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
so.
I came up with that. I think me and someone else came up with that.
So yeah,
Yeah,
there
go
is
for
your
Monica.
official answer. Mercury is not a trap, but he likes trap music.
That's if
Happy?
people
That
think
is
he's
a
a trap.
He's not a trap.
I feel like Neptune, like hanging out with him and hearing that would be like, what is this whole trap thing?
Of
Quite
course.
possibly. But yeah, that's all it for Mercury. So I will move on to his voice actor, who is Pecan. He's been here the whole time, if you haven't spoken to him yet. Hello there.
Hello.
He's been a regular. He has
Nice.
been a regular on the podcast, so I'm sure you've spoken to him before. Not spoken to him, listened to him before. But we've never been able to do Mercury because we kept missing dates and stuff. So
Had my grad party, and then I went to my cousin's.
yeah, and then my laptop broke, and then this broke, and then that broke. So we're finally here. We're doing Mercury. So I want to ask
Yep.
you some generic questions about being a voice actor. First of all,
Mhm.
what's your favourite part about Mercury's character and how he ended up being?
Trap.
You know what? Sure. Why not we go with the trap? Let me explain myself.
Okay.
One of my favorite characters is Nepgear. Nepgear gets like not physically beat up, but just like she's the punching bag a lot of the time. That's Mercury.
That's
He's
true.
just the punching bag.
He's the team punching bag for memes at this point. It's just Mercury,
Mm-hmm.
Mercury's
Yeah.
trap, this, that, and the other.
And honestly, the trap is a half decent thing that happened because if that didn't happen, Mercury would be the least important character. But now everyone talks about
And
him.
I'm back.
That's sort of true. I think he will have a very important role once the show gets going, just because he is the kind of straight man character. It's even evident.
Straight white male.
It's even evident in the kind of episode 1. I won't give any spoilers, that he is going to be an integral part of keeping the class together socially, just because everyone else is like absolutely nuts. It is important to have some characters that are slightly more boring, but trust me, there will be some people that love him. Moving
They already
on
do.
as well.
Yeah, I'm sure
This
there's
is
someone out there that loves him.
this is probably not a difficult question to answer again, but was there anything other than the trap that you didn't like about going through the design process, or that you don't like about his final character now?
I was definitely campaigning against the Johnny Test hair. Like that was the main thing.
Yeah,
Luckily, it looks better in the final design.
the original Johnny Test hair was basically just think of Johnny Test with grey hair, and that was it. Like, it was way too big. It was kind of funny though. Katha definitely had quite a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, so many whip crack noises.
What kind of things did you do / have you done? I know we haven't done too much voice acting yet, to kind of get into character. Like, what things do you think about? What to you are his main kind of motivations and things?
Well, Mercury's basically me, but more actually athletic.
Actually gets outside.
Be cast in shade.
So what kind of things do you do to get into character?
I don't really do much since he's basically
just
me already.
Similar to you. Yeah, that's probably
I just think about a version of me that's better at sports, panics even more, but is even more confident.
Yeah, it's just like
what you should do.
an accelerated version of you.
God damn it, Cat. What you should do is just go, okay, I gotta get into character and have like a jog, do some sit-ups, do some push-ups.
Ha, me in shape?
Yes.
I'm in less shape.
I should put together like an exercise routine for you two.
Honestly, I am
montage.
planning on attempting exercise in college, so we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
It's not
Exercise
gonna
is
work.
good. I interrupt this podcast to remind you all to drink water and try and do at least some walking today.
I'll drink some water right now.
Good.
Become a labourer.
I think
You
I'll
don't
eat
need to
it now.
exercise, man.
It's
'cause
important to stay
your job
hydrated.
is-
And a final question for you, Pecan. Out of all of the discussions that we've had around the character, hopefully without any spoilers, what are you looking forward to the most about his character, or is like where he's going to go with the show?
That's hard to think about with him only having like a few lines in episode 1.
Trust me, Neptune also does too.
Yep.
That's true. Not many of the characters have too many lines in episode 1. I can
Tiger's
share.
the key to all this.
I think Mercury will have quite a lot of fun roles with his like errands and stuff that Sensei gives him. I can imagine him being given like some quite silly things to be taking around and such. Just coming back from reception with a gigantic parcel that doesn't fit through the door.
Just goes on some crazy quest to get to the office.
Yeah.
And so many things just keep interrupting.
Yeah, as we are definitely going from a new Chijiro style show, I think we could definitely have some fun with like making the school look like a maze or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. I really love all the characters, if you couldn't tell already. So Mercury's definitely a special boy though, because the amount of time I spent criticizing his final artwork has left a lasting impression on me. Anyway, thank you very much for that. Hope you enjoyed our little Mercury breakdown. We're going to move on to some more anime now. Not our anime, but just anime we love. So if I pull up
Mercury's going to have a breakdown.
Yes.
Well, we usually go in
Where's my
alphabetical order. So, Ozzy, you're up first. What is your favourite anime? What would you rate it? And why would you recommend it?
Let me guess.
This is a really difficult question.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna have to give it to Monster Musume. Masterpiece of a show. Positively, yeah. After asking me to rate it, I'm gonna give it an 11 out of 5.
Ooh.
There, that's quite the show.
Quite
Great
the
plot,
hentai.
by the way. Whole the way through, cohesive, coherent, really good. Makes a lot of sense.
Just drops the mic and walks off stage.
Absolutely great show. Yeah, no, if Occhiato walked in here, just dropped a mic, I'd die.
The plot on Mill's chest, great.
Did you say great chest?
So if you
Great characters, good development.
if you're
Do you
struggling
want
to
to
hear
talk
his
about?
Ozzy rambling, he's saying his favourite is Monster Musume, which I'm sure you've all seen him talking about already.
But Ozzy, could you tell us of a purchase of yours, or of mine that is now yours?
Yes, I happen to have next to me a very special item. It's rather long, a good 8 meters long. It's a list of people who like my chin.
Pretty much.
What
I bought Ozzy a 8-meter Mia body pillow, who was the snake on the show. I bought him that. It was around $250 and gave it to him for his birthday.
a very
And if you haven't seen a picture of me with it, then you haven't lived, because there's about 8 of them floating around on the server.
So yeah, that is definitely Ozzy's favourite anime. I can confirm. Rabbit,
Yeah, if you check my mail, I did give it a 10.
do you want to talk about your anime? Why you'd recommend it?
Well, my favorite anime is Okami-san and Her 7 Companions. It's basically about a bunch of high schoolers based off of some fairy tales. We've got Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. We've got the Grasshopper and the Ant. Basically, they go around and have adventures in their little town called Otogibana City, where essentially they've got to they basically live on their own. So even though they're in high school, it's not like they're really in high school. They're kind of in college. It's weird. But basically, they've got to fight against this other school full of delinquents who, they're bad guys.
It's just kind of like a cute.
Yeah, absolutely adorable. Unfortunately, probably not going to get a second season because it's been like freaking almost 10 years since the first season came out, and nothing since then. But the books do extend past that. I still got to read those one of these days. So yeah, you can find it online places. Yeah.
Damn, if only
Just
I could
remind us
read.
of the name of that.
Okami-san and her 7 companions.
Thank you.
Yep.
Pecan, you're up next.
All right. Surprise, surprise! It isn't the Neps.
I think we all
I
are
mean-
surprised.
I mean, I can only say it's Neps is good. Go experience it so many times. So might as well talk about something different. Now, you see, sometimes what I like to do is I'm just like, yeah, I feel like watching a trashy harem, so I go find myself a trashy harem. And sometimes I'm actually surprised and like, wow, that was actually a pretty good show. And the funny thing is, the original show I was going to talk about today, literally yesterday, Mother's Basement made a video talking about several anime, and that being one of them at the end. The one at the end was the one I was going to talk about yesterday. So I'm just like, huh. Well, I mean, it's great that it has some more exposure from a bigger person now, but now what am I going to talk about? Luckily, there's a second harem anime I found through my endeavors that is actually pretty decent. So it's called Vaders of the Six Mat Room, and it's about a guy who gets a really cheap deal on a room. And then he finds out it's haunted. And then an alien shows up and says that she's taking over this room. Then an underground person shows up and says she's taking over this room. And then a magical girl shows up and says enemies are coming towards this room, so I need to take it over. And they end up having to solve who gets the room peacefully without any fighting or explosions or anything. And they do it through games. And there's a few interesting things there's a lot of things about it that make it better than just random old harem. First off, you don't have all the girls just immediately like, I want to have his child.
I want the babies.
You know,
Give me the babies.
They take legitimate time to develop the personalities and the friendships between all these people, which is nice. And one of the biggest reasons why I'm just like really talking about this is something that I was completely surprised about. After the 5th episode, they stop using fan service, which is unheard of for harem anime to not rely on fan service even somewhat. But this anime does it legitimately. After the first 5 episodes, no more fan service. Now they focus on actual plot and characters and story, and it's pretty good.
That definitely sounds like a recommend then. What's it called again?
Invaders of the Six Flat Room. Unfortunately, it's only 1 season. Probably not getting a 2nd season. But there is a book, like Rabbit said for his series. There's a book series that goes much further than the 12 episodes that there is now. And it's 29 volumes and still going.
Jesus.
I'm just like, these better be only a few chapters a volume, or else, oof. Because I'm interested to see what happens next.
Cool. On to you then, Rook.
Okay, well, I was going to talk about A Silent Voice, but most people have seen that, so I wanted to talk about a little gem that not many people do know about, which is Cromartie High School. So, I like comedy a lot, but sometimes you're not able to find some real comedy gold in anime. Trust me, there is a lot, but there's also a lot of trashy ones. But Cromartie High School is literally a gem. It's as you can tell by the cover, it's more of a masculine art style, and it's about this guy drops out of his school because he's quote unquote a bad boy, and goes into a school full of bad boys and people who think they're like top shit gangsters, blah blah blah. And everyone in the school is pretty much retarded, and
Nice.
and it pretty much just shows the day-to-day routines of what their school is. It's an all boys school. It was voted as the worst school in all of Japan and the world, pretty much because of how bad it is and the reputation it has. And the opening scenes has a guy who bites and tries to eat a handful of pencils. There's a gorilla in the school. A criminal pretends to be a kid in the school. There is literally Freddie Mercury as one of the students. No, Freddie Mercury is literally one of the students, but he's mute. And there's a robot that everyone doesn't know everyone doesn't see everyone thinks is a human, but he's a robot. And it's pretty much just this entire series of just retarded bullshit things happening.
That sounds pretty good.
So, yeah,
But
that sounds like a
it's
good comedy for an
comedy.
afternoon.
It is. I when I watched it, I binged the entire series, but unfortunately, there is only one series. But bloody hell, 11 out of 10 IGN would Cromartie again.
You want
So only half of Monster Musumei's score.
to remind everyone?
Well, I didn't. Yep, Cromartie High School better than Monster Musume and less over exaggerated.
Oofed.
Great. Okay. Oh, it's me now. Right. So
Yes.
so everyone else has gone for kind of out of the way titles. I'm not sure how out of the way Angel Beats is anymore, and it's
It's
definitely
pretty well known.
yeah.
Not very.
It's no, not very, and it is the favorite one on the card. But all of the other ones that are like I have 3 top animes all time. AKB 0048, which isn't very out of the way, especially in the idol world, or on High School Host Club, which is literally about as mainstream as you can get, and then Angel Beats, which is slightly further away. I wanted to talk about Angel Beats because it holds the other 2 I liked because I enjoyed them, whereas Angel Beats I liked because it literally changed my life. It's one of those animes that just kind of gets you, you know. Angel Beats, if you haven't seen it, seriously go watch it. But prepare a box of tissues. The first 6 episodes will have you rolling around on the floor with laughter. It's absolutely hilarious at the start, kind of crazy. It's set in the afterlife, and it's a high school in the afterlife, and all of the kids are fighting God, and you don't really know what's happening, and they can die as many times as they need to and just come back to life in the medical room. So there's a lot of kind of extreme slapstick comedy where they get thrown against walls and blown up into pieces and chairs chucked at them and sliced apart with swords and stuff. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, it's quite good. And then it kind of cuts in and starts to think about the story. It leaves a lot of the lore of the world until the last 6 episodes, the last half of the season. So the first bit's really funny, and then it kind of slowly cuts into being really serious, and then the last few episodes are somber and yeah. But it's about basically a high school of kids that didn't have a chance to have a proper childhood, and so they're given a afterlife to actually be able to remember what it's like to be a child, which is really sweet. So if you haven't already seen it, I really like it. It's one of those ones I think everyone should just watch. Funny and sad at the same time. So yeah. Angel Beats, if you haven't already, please do. And it's got a great soundtrack. There's a band in it, which is they're legitimately one of my favourite bands. Amazing soundtrack. Yeah. Okay. So, Rook, you're up on Globetrotting.
Oh, God. Okay, so pretty much. So this was on Reddit not too long ago, but as if you do browse Reddit at all, it was stated that half of the Great Barrier Reef is dead. But that was in 2016, really. But more than half of the Great Barrier Reef is dead. So I'm going to be talking about the Great Barrier Reef. So the Great Barrier Reef is 1,400 miles long and is the longest and largest coral reef in the world. But as of late, through to lots of global warming, oil leaks in the barrier reef, it's been blanketed by hot water, and the Great Barrier Reef is dying. The barrier reef is becoming desaturated and bleached by all of the hot water, and there was actually a bunch of hot water in 2016, which saturated and starved the corals, and was being called an unprecedented bleaching event. And right now, no one really knows what to do, but to tell you the volume of how much of it is dying, after inspecting every one of its reefs, surveying them on almost a species by species basis, the paper reports that vast swaths of the Great Barrier Reef were permanently transformed in the summer of 2016. The reef's northern third, which was previously in pristine condition, lost more than half of its coral reefs and half of its coral. And two of the most recognizable creatures in those corals were the ambered color staghorn corals and the flat fan-like tabular corals suffered the worst, nearly being completely wiped out. But it's not just in that one part. The damage of the Great Barrier Reef is across the entire ecosystem. On average, across Great Barrier Reef, one in 3 corals died in 9 months. And this was said by Terry Hughes, who was an author of the paper and the director of the ARC, or the Centre of Excellence for Coral Reef Studies, which is an Australian government federal research program devoted to corals. He also said, you could say the ecosystem has collapsed. You could say it has degraded. I wouldn't say that's wrong. A more natural way of putting it is it has transformed into a completely new system that looks differently, that behaves differently, and functions differently than how it was 3 years ago. But saying that, the way it has changed is because the barrier reef has become desaturated from color, with nearly the entire reef looking white. And a biologist from the University of North Carolina, I think is, who was involved in the studies, named John Bruno, said it's a confirmation of our worst fears. And Hughes also said, combined, the back-to-back bleaching effects killed 1 in every 2 corals in the barrier reef, so not even 1 in every 3rd, but 1 in every 2. And the fact is almost beyond comprehension. And in the summer of 2015, more than 2 billion corals lived in the barrier reef. Half of them are now dead. This was caused by the warm waters of the summer of 2017 and 2016. So with all of this happening with the barrier reef, and with all the oil that has been spilled in it, and one of the reasons why the barrier reef is so destroyed is because of the amount of traffic going in and out of it, the Australian government is still not doing anything big about it, and are instead starting to approve projects of the Adani coal mine, or Chamichul coal mine, which is a massive coal mine, which by Adani, which is an Indian company. So the investment going into this coal mine is $16.5 billion. At the peak of the capacity of the mine, will produce 60 million tons of coal per year. But in court, Adani said that they expect the mine to produce 2.3 billion tons of coal over 60 years. So I'll just tell you how big this mine's going to be. It's planned to contain 6 open-cut pits and 5 underground mines. So the surface disturbance area will be around 27,000 hectares, and the mine site covers an area of 44,000 hectares, around 447 square kilometers, and it's about 50 kilometers long. So this mine will not only amount to about 77 million tons of CO2 going into the atmosphere each year, but the plan to transport all of this coal to India is to travel it via railway to a port in Abbott Point, which is a port right next to the Barrier Reef, which is on the slideshow somewhere as a fact sheet to sort of show you where the coal mine is, where Abbott Point is, and where the Barrier Reef is. But pretty much the Barrier Reef is dying. It doesn't seem that the government really care about it. And if we don't stop now, we could completely lose the Barrier Reef within a couple of years even. Some estimate it to be anywhere from 50 to 100 years for it to be completely gone. There's the fact sheet there. Yep. But it's devastating, and it's really just confirming everyone's fears of what global warming and human pollution is doing to not only on land, but in the sea, to great habitats where millions upon millions of fish and different species live. And yeah.
Well, thank you for that. So, it's clearly a subject you're very passionate about. So, the main takeaways from that, if you don't mind me summarising, are that Great Barrier Reef, which I'm sure you've all heard of, a massive reef in Australia, corals, divers' dream, honestly a beautiful natural paradise, is declining at a rapid rate, so less than half of what it was 20 years ago is left. And the Australian government isn't doing much about it. So that's really sad. And it's mainly due to hot water and oil spills. Did you have any information of how it's easy to help, or what people can do? Like, people in Australia, like, is there like representatives you can contact or something?
Well, there's a lot of, as I said before, there is a dedicated coral reef study for the Barrier Reef that can use funding, but most of it is just personal usage of wastes. And really just the Adani coal mine, there is a lot of people speaking out against it, and a lot of people speaking out against the government for allowing and even investing money into it. So if you are against it, you can join the movement, the voice, whatever. It's up to you. But really, most of the Barrier Reef just needs serious help, and the government need to know that the larger population care about its survival mostly.
Yeah, I think that's really important with a lot of things. Change has been achieved in recent years because people have spoken out. So if you are in Australia, or even if you're not, and you have a position where you can speak out, if you can probably just do a quick Google search, find your representative and tell them, like, we care about the Great Barrier Reef. Like, honestly, the public masses are the people that can save things like this. Oh, thank you very much for that, Rook. That was
Yep, all good.
lovely to hear about. We are running out of time though, so unfortunately it's probably time to say goodbye. Thank you all for coming this week. On this podcast this week we have had Ozzy, we have had Rabbit, we have had Pecan. It's been Rook and me, SpaceFlower. Thank you all.
Yay.
I hope you've enjoyed the time. I've enjoyed myself. I hope everyone listening, I hope you've had a good time, and I hope a little bit more of a somber end, but I hope that you have things to think on. You've got some anime recommendations, so I hope you've read and watched those movies. So lots of things to do over the summer. As regards to briefly from last week, if you do want to watch Barney Goes into Outer Space with us, that will be happening either this evening or tomorrow evening, so stay tuned for that.
And may I say one last thing?
Mercury is
a
trap.
I fell straight into that. That was a good trap. Anyway.
Just like Mercury.
Thank you all. We'll see you same time next week. And I really hope that we will be talking about one of the American characters, so Sunsei, hopefully. That's my plan. Anyway. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next week. Make sure you're hydrated. Go get some water, especially if you've been talking for a while. And remember,
make me drink.
Earth Chans.